Hello, this is Talmir and welcome to another repair video. In this video, we're going to be looking at a PlayStation 5. This PlayStation 5 has an issue with its HDMI port. So let's take a look at it. So first, I'm just going to do a quick cursory inspection because I'd like to plug it in first just to see what it's doing. The customer says that if you even just walk by it with too heavy of footsteps, the connection is lost. It looks okay. I don't see any damaged pins or anything. Let's get a pair of tweezers and just give it a wiggle. It seems to be firm. I see a small amount of a wiggle. Nothing special. Alright, let's plug it in. So it slid in pretty easily there. I'm not seeing any real issues there. Just slides in quite easily. Comfortable. Alright, let's press the power button. Got the blue light. What's it going to do on screen? Okay. I just touched the cable. Did it just go out? It's in the boot screen right now. It's gone to a white light now. That's on. Touch the cable. There it goes. All right. We've reproduced the customer's issue. Let's take it apart. Here's the charge port, I think. Not charge port, HDMI port, I'm pretty sure. Yes, that is. I can kind of see in behind here. Here's your pins. So what do we see? What's going on? Visually speaking, it looks good. I don't see any damage, but I'm going to bet there's probably one of these pins or multiple of these pins that have been lifted or cracked away. Ah. There it is. There is the culprit. Just that one? Is it just that one? 2, 3. So there's 3 pins that are loose. Those 3. I don't believe that this port needs to be replaced. How does that even happen? I know that the customer said that he is constantly taking this system up and down the stairs over and over and over and over again. So this makes sense. I just don't understand how it could happen. And I'm going to pump a little bit of heat into this board using my heat gun, also at about 450 degrees Celsius. I'm going to put it at 100% airspeed, get this warmed up. Okay, now heating this board up is going to make it a lot easier for me to work on this board when I start trying to solder those pins back in place. That's literally what I'm doing right now. I'm just heating it up. I'm just trying to get it a little bit warm, and you're going to heat it up as rapidly as possible. Oh, good enough. I started to melt the port a little bit. You can see that little bubble right there, the plastic. Right there, melted just a hair. Usually I don't heat from the top. I usually heat from the bottom. Okay, that should have done it. For now, should be enough heat. I'm going to go and put some flux on the board. Just a speck. Doesn't need a lot. I'm using Chip Quick if you're curious. It's okay stuff. All you got to do is touch those pins with the soldering iron until the metal goes liquid, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, I need more flux. This is a really annoying angle. I've got it kind of leaning against my chest just so that I can see the angle that I'm at. It's really annoying. I've got the first port somewhat working. It's just it needed more flux. Okay, I did a few other pins just in case. Let's try moving them now. That one's solid. Solid. I had a lot of troubles with this one. But it looks like it's solid too. Okay, that's done. Let's get that flux cleaned up. Now just take a look at this right here. This right here is the liquid metal, the pad just there. I want to show you that, guys, just really close up what it looks like. It almost looks charred, doesn't it? So the way to deal with this, and may as well do it up close and personal looking with a Q-tip, is how it's done. And all you do is you start off with the side that is normal, and you just give it a rub. If you can push the stuff, that the extra that is sitting around the edges back up, that is great. If not, well, try your best. Then you work your way over, and you're going to use that metal to get that dry spot cleaned off. You just keep rubbing it until it comes clean. It takes a little bit, but eventually it cleans itself up just by using the metal. I've never seen a dry spot this bad. Well, I'm going to work at this, try to do my best to get rid of this dry spot, and then we're going to move on. I got that all cleaned up. It took a lot of work to get that dry spot to clear, but I think it's pretty good. Let's zoom out. There we go. And let's get these cables all back in. You want to put these off to the sides. You do not want those antennas getting crushed underneath the motherboard. There isn't much that needs to be out of the way. And I'm not going to be connecting everything up. I just need to test first. Nothing else plugged in, nothing else done. I'm not even going to connect up the fan. I don't think it will error out if the fan is not connected. I just want to see if the issue with the HDMI port has been rectified. Let's go over to my screen to test and see how it goes. Okay, we've got blue. What will we have on screen? Okay, now if I wiggle this right now, it shouldn't go off. It's still going off. You see that? It's a little bit less sensitive though. A lot less sensitive. This does not make me happy. The port has some damage to it, because if I just touch the cable, it freaks out. It goes back. It just, that's some sensitive. That's way too sensitive. I'm gonna have to bite the bullet. I'm gonna have to replace that port. That's all there is to it. Gotta replace it. So what I like to do is I heat from the bottom. It can help a fair bit if you go and put a little bit of leaded solder on the back. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. You should be able to remove it just by applying heat. Usually you can get it off pretty easily just using 480 degrees Celsius at 100% airspeed. And that should do the trick. What you want to do first though, before you even go through totally with this, is you want to heat up the board area. You're not going to start off immediately with heating up the underneath. You want to get some heat into the board in general. That way it's not absorbing all of it right away. So start off with that. You're going to keep in mind also you got tiny little components that are directly behind the HDMI port, and you don't want to break that. I'm forgetting to go and plug in my exhaust fan. Let's do that. There. All right. Now you don't want to keep the heat in one place for too long. If you do, you could bubble the board, and if you bubble the board, it's done for. There's just nothing to do after that. So what I'm looking for is for the joints to start going shiny. This will take a bit. There's a lot of thickness to this board, and it's going to take some time to get this up to temperature. You don't want to be pulling on this too hard. It should lift off pretty easily once the port has come up to temperature. I'm forgetting to take something off. Oh, I forgot about it. Oh, that was stupid of me. It's just the one. I haven't burned it completely. Oh, I forgot that those pads are there. I was wondering why it was smoking so much. It's like, oh, there's no way it's come up to that temperature that quickly. I'm just tapping at it here and there. I'm wanting to see whether or not the solder's become liquid. There we have it. That's off. I'm curious about this port. Let's take a look at it. It's going to be extremely hot right now, but I'm looking to see if there's a crack in it. Let's zoom in. I don't see any cracks on the inside. The only thing I can think of is maybe one of the pins was damaged. I'm not seeing anything. Alright, whatever. Nevertheless, it does need to be replaced because it's just not working. So we got to get rid of this old solder there. We're going to go and use some leaded solder. and get that completely soaked into the unleaded solder that's present, so we can remove this a little bit easier. I'm going to go and put a lot of flux here as well to get this going. No! You saw what I just did there. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I just gotta go and put that, I gotta put that capacitor back. I've never knocked one of those capacitors off before. Okay, I think from here I'm gonna have to do it underneath the microscope. Doing this with the naked eye is causing me more problems than it's worth. Alright, you guys see it there? I just gotta get that capacitor fixed. It's gonna be a pretty big tip. I don't feel like switching out my tip right now. Not sure if that's a wise choice, but... Okay, let's adjust. Solder in the one side first, and then we'll go from there. Just putting a little bit of solder on my tip, because it looks like some of the solder got removed here. There we go, it's all solid. Now, since I still have some of that leaded solder on the tip here, I'm just going to go over these pins. The board has lost most of its heat, which isn't great, but yeah, just going to go through these. Alright, I got that done and dusted. I'm going to heat this board back up, and then we're going to go and start using my my braided wick, get all that old solder out. Just in case, I've increased the temperature of my soldering iron up to 480 degrees Celsius. One of these days I'm going to have the money to go and get myself the same microscope and setup that Alex from Northridge Fix has. I would love the anti-glare light. It would be so nice to have. Those holes are always so hard to get the solder out of. What I'm doing is, because my tip isn't really big enough and I don't have a big enough tip yet at the moment, I'm using a combination of heat from my heat gun and heat from my soldering iron. I'm going to have to flip the board over to get the back sides of this. But first I'm going to want to get the solder off of these pins, and I'm going to put a little bit more flux on this first. Trying really hard to be careful around that capacitor. This is why the microscope is so important when you're working on these very tiny circuits. Okay, let's get this old flux off. I just realized I was using one that had metal on it. That wouldn't have been good. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to use some heat to go in and get this back up to temperature so this flux is easier to remove. Alright, I think the rest is going to have to come up with some alcohol. Not as good as I can do for now. Flip the board over and get the rest of that flux out. Let's get the rest of the solder out. I have just thrown the old port in the garbage. It's important to do that. Why? Because there has been one occasion, and I don't want to ever repeat it again, where I put the old port back in. Now, I've been told that that isn't an uncommon thing to do if you forget to toss the old one in the garbage. That hole is just not wanting to clear. It really doesn't want to clear. I'm just going to have to move on with life. I'm going to fill it up with regular solder, regular leaded solder, and the method that I've been using anyways has been quite successful in doing the drop method, which is you put the solder all on in advance and then you drop it in place. I'm going to preheat those two holes. I'm just hoping. Just maybe I can clear those ones out. Not like it's the biggest deal in the world, but I sure would like to. Yeah, look at that. Alright. Maybe I can do it with the other one. I'll try. No, it just isn't coming. That's okay. Now we're going to prep the pads here. I'm going to heat this up first. Get some heat back in the board. We have some heat. I'm going to really want to fill up those holes as well with lots of solder. Okay, I am ready. I'll put lots of flux. And now we're going to apply some good clean solder. Somebody's doing some work outside. Sounds like a chainsaw. Just gonna get rid of some of the excess solder I've got on my tip. We gotta move on to filling up those ground plane holes. Lots of solder for these. You just leave it on there for a little bit. It'll eventually, you'll see it's going to start bubbling on the sides for the solder itself moving, and then you'll see it get sucked into the joint. It's kind of already done it actually. Alright. Next. This does take some time. I'm spending about 30 seconds per hole, I think. I gotta get that old flux off of the board now. Now let's put some clean stuff on there, and we're ready to go and put the new port. Well, we're almost ready to put the new port on. The final step that I've got to do is I got to tin the port. By tinning the port in advance, it really helps it to adhere to the pads. Now, sometimes with these ports, they might occasionally have a bent pin, so it's a good idea to go over it. See right there? That one's slightly off kilter. So you just want to get that one lined up properly. I'm resting my hand on the table, otherwise I think I'd be way too shaky. Here's off the board, off the table. Yeah, and on the table. Still a little shaky, but nowhere near. There we go. These pins are all nice and straight. Put a little bit of flux on those pins, and then we're going to put some solder on it. Leaded solder is what I'm using. Don't need an incredible amount, just a little bit. There's going to be lots of bridges, we'll worry about that in a sec. Sometimes you can do it without any bridges at all, but I've only done it like, I think once where I manage that. It's pretty easy to get them off. Just come up close with a clean tip, and then just press it up lightly. See? Very easy. Port is nicely tinned. Final step. Gotta get out of this mode because I can't possibly do this with the microscope. I'm gonna turn the temperature down to 450. Airspeed, I'm gonna turn down a little bit as well. And from what I've experienced, it's best to put this on using a pair of tweezers. What I do is I grab the metal shielding, the outer casing of the port, and you just make sure that it's nice and straight there, and then you drop it on. If you're not sure, try doing it a few times without putting it on there. You know, you're just eyeing it up. You're wanting to make sure that it's going in properly. Once you're really sure of yourself, then you can go on in there and heat it up. Heat from the bottom. You're looking for the joints to all become nice and shiny. Once it becomes shiny, then you're looking to drop it on. The same thing as before. You do want to make sure that you're heating a large surface area first. Once you got that up to temperature, you can start really focusing in on just the area where you're putting your port on. You want to make sure that huge ground plane and all those layers of all those board levels are being really well heated up. Then you can start focusing in on the main area. I think it's up to temperature. It is. No! I just gotta take a quick look at those pins. They look fine. Okay. Try it again. Now you gotta keep heating this once it's on there, because the port itself is cold. And then you put your tweezers on top and get away from it and just hold it down. You're just holding it down long enough that you can see the legs on the sides solidifying. I think they've solidified now. Let's take a look at it underneath the microscope. I think that I see pins that are not actually soldered down. I'm gonna just pick this up, flip it around so we can see the other side. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna use some even finer tweezers. Good, good. Oh, yeah, see? I knew it. That one's loose too. And that one too. I think I'm just going to go through these. Oh no, where did it go? Where'd it go? Oh gosh. Well, we know that we got to go and touch up those pins, and for the life of me, I doubt that I'm going to be able to find it. The thing is the size of a grain of sand, but we'll try. We will try. First, I'm going to inspect my board, and I'll let you guys know if I found it. Alright, I found it. And I'm not pleased with where I found it. Where I saw it go was in the HDMI port itself. I saw it get sucked in to the side of the HDMI port. So these caps that I found, they were not it. It went in right here. Where are you? Right around here, it got sucked in underneath. So I might have to take the port off just to get to it. But it went underneath. That's where it is. And after looking some more down deep and trying to figure out what had happened, I figured out where it went in. So I'm going to show you where. This is so terribly annoying. Here's the port. This right here is where it went in. It went down and it was sucked into the solder itself. So I'm not likely to find it around the joint itself or even under the port, but instead there's a little spot right here that's bigger than it should be. The others aren't that big. That one's looking like it needs a little bit more solder actually. It looks a little almost cold. I'm going to switch out my tip for the bigger one, more surface area. Put that in, and we're going to remove that. And I am betting that that is where we're going to find our lost capacitor. That's so frustrating. Okay, I took the port off. I couldn't deal with it. Took the port off. I was hoping that maybe it was stuck somewhere else. Still can't find it, but I think it's right here. I can feel it even. Yeah, you see that? It's there. It's right there. You can see it. Right in the center. I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to turn down the air temperature. Not the air temperature, the airspeed. Get this melted up to temperature. And then I'm going to try either pulling it out or poking it out. Okay, I pushed it down as good as I could. I'm going to see whether or not it's done something on the other side. Just checking underneath to see whether or not it fell out. Being very gentle. There it is, right there. Nope. It is so much smaller than the capacitor that I found on my desk. So much smaller. There we go. Come on. Oh, there we are. There it is. Okay, let's get this off of there with my tweezers. It is so incredibly small. Oh man. I think if I put that on my sponge, it'd just disappear. Because of this happening, I actually went right immediately to my part supplier's website, and I put in for my next order to add this tiny little thing to my order, so that I'll never be worrying about this ever again. You can see why it was so easily sucked in. So easily sucked into that hole, into that plane. I'm gonna put a little dab of solder flux right beside it, just to help me along. And it is where it's supposed to be right now. I'm gonna grab it. We're gonna solder the one side and then the other, just like we did last time. Now I got that port off, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put some more solder on those pads. So I gotta put the port back on, after all. And there's just some pads here that don't really have enough solder on them. Alright, we're trying this again. Let's put on some clean flux. I'm just checking the port to see if there's anything wrong with it. Any burnt plastic, bent pins, anything like that. It looks good though. I think I should be fine. Okay, the solder's all melting. Should be able to put it in now. Almost. Okay, taking the heat off and keeping a very close eye on that little chip. I am really concerned about it. I think the joints have solidified. Back to the microscope. So, how does this port look? The pins look good, I think. The little guy there, the little tiny capacitor, that is far smaller. I'm gonna re-show you guys. I don't think I've thrown them out yet. Just compare like the size of the capacitor that I found and I thought must have been it. Here we go. Look at it. That little guy, that capacitor, is a quarter the size of the one I found. Ah, man. I got my hopes up so much. Would have made my life so much simpler if it hadn't got sucked into the ground plane. That ground hole. Okay, let's check those pins, see if they're good and solid, see if any of them need to be touched up. No, they're good and solid. Wow. I just gotta give this a good clean and then we can test it. Now for testing, I have the HDMI cable plugged in. Let's turn it on. Okay, great. That's normal, that's expected. I'm wiggling the cable. Back and forth, back and forth. And it's working fine. Very, very good. So we're good to go. It's all done. It's all done and dusted. So I'm going to be going and disconnecting that, getting it shut down, and give the customer a call because it is another repair complete. Finally, it is complete. It took a little bit longer than usual just because I had other stuff going on. But yeah, if you guys like the video, please do leave a like. And if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. We'll see you guys all in another video. Bye.